The Founders Edition RTX 3070 is a pretty neat design, compact cooler, exposed heatsink, and all metal build. But those of you with a generic ATX mid-tower PC probably have a lot more room to fill out in your case with a card such as this, something much bigger. Not to mention, the Founders Edition 30 series cards this time around are actually impossible to buy in select regions. So today we're taking a look at two flagship custom designs, the Asus ROG Strix and the MSI Gaming X Trio. So let's take a look at these two enthusiast card designs and see how they compare to the very compact Founders Edition card from Nvidia in terms of thermals, noise, and clock speeds. And the ultimate question, are they really worth the premium? So to quickly recap RTX 3070 performance as a whole, it's an excellent card for the price point. Right now, the fastest $500 GPU that you can buy. However, I would recommend holding off for now if possible, as AMD's RX 6800 will be released in roughly 3 weeks. That's looking to be a very decent competitor if you don't mind paying closer to that $600 mark. But for now, let's start off by taking a look at the Asus Strix, because this is the first Strix card that I've seen from the new 30 series. And in true flagship nature, just like MSI's Gaming X Trio, this is a big card, especially for an RTX 3070. It's 2.5 slots, 319mm long, and 140mm in height. I do appreciate though that the power connectors are recessed a fair bit. That makes the card's height a less of a concern. Like many of the 30 series cards, this is a triple fan design. 3 95mm fans push cool air onto the heatsink, which is then exhausted to the front of the card near the GeForce logo, as well as the back towards the motherboard. One thing though, I understand the demand to slap a bunch of RGB lighting on your design and make it look unique, but I'm not a fan of the amount of plastic that appears to be blocking the heatsink. This impedes airflow and also increases turbulence and noise. MSI's Gaming X Trio isn't free from this design flaw either, but it's a bit less about what you'd expect from a custom card. And this is one of the main reasons that Nvidia's own Founders Edition cooler performs so well relative to its size, and despite only having 2 fans. Of course, I don't expect any board partner to really lean into this completely exposed heatsink design like Nvidia has, but it's just important to keep this in mind when we look at performance. Lastly, the ROG Strix has dual BIOS support, and out of the box, it's set to the performance mode. As for the Gaming X Trio, well, we've taken a look at both the RTX 3080 and 3090 Gaming X Trio in previous videos, and this is basically no different to the 3080. It's one of MSI's better looking designs for sure, and is also a pretty big card, 323mm long by 140mm high with recessed power connectors. But now let's get to what we really want to see. How do these two cards actually perform compared to the much smaller Founders Edition? So starting with clock speeds, the Founders Edition settles to around 1920 MHz in our test setup, and as the GPU is power limited, that's why we see a fairly inconsistent line plot. And oddly enough, the MSI Gaming X Trio is also power limited despite being a factory overclocked custom card, and settles in barely higher than the FE at 1929 MHz. The Asus ROG Strix doesn't have this limit out of the box and appears to have roughly a plus 100 MHz factory overclock, which lands at slightly over 2 GHz. But what does that get you when it comes to gaming performance? Well, not that much at all. The small differences here will create a perceivably identical gaming performance for either of these GPUs, so definitely don't buy an aftermarket card today just because you want higher clock speeds. What you really should be buying them for is the superior cooling and noise performance. In my testing, I found the 2-slot Founders Edition 3070 to top out at 70 degrees C on an open test bench with a room ambient of 20 C, and under the same conditions, I found both of the custom cards here to be around 8 degrees below that. So both the Asus ROG Strix and the Gaming X Trio sat comfortably at 62C, but it's important to note the difference in fan speed between them. The Gaming X Trio ran the quietest of the three, with the Strix running the loudest, although it's not exactly a one-to-one comparison. As we saw, the ROG Strix isn't power limited and runs around 90 MHz faster than the other two cards, so that's really important to keep in mind here. Here's what they all sound like at stock though, and at full load. Then taking a look at a noise normalized result with all three cards generating 40 dBA from a distance of 25 centimeters, we can see that both of the custom cards here are superior to the more compact Nvidia Founders Edition card. The Asus ROG Strix is close though, it's within 3 degrees, but to its defense, again, it is running 90 MHz faster and pulling around 20 watts more power. The MSI card, on the other hand, is running at almost identical power and clocks to the FE, but there is a 7-degree improvement. In terms of overclocking, here's what I was able to achieve for each card. The Asus Strix has by far the largest power limit of the three at 125%, but you're still going to be limited in terms of voltage, which you don't have any control over at all. Still though, this is what allowed it to overclock the highest of the three, and by quite a fair bit. The gains that this will give you in game though are likely not worth it. It will definitely depend on the title. I would probably recommend just setting a decent memory overclock if anything, and probably just leaving it at that. So that's an idea of how two of the top custom cards compared to the very compact RTX 3070 Founders Edition from Nvidia, and in the end I do think it's going to come down to pricing and availability in your region. Of course, these two cards are a premium over the Founders Edition, which is technically MSRP $499, but like I said in the intro, in some regions it is just impossible to buy the FE. At the very least though, there will be many other RTX 3070 base models that are kind of closer to that $500 mark, so you do have those options there as well. And of course we do have AMD's RX 6800 just around the corner, which from memory is around $580 US, so you definitely don't want to be pulling the trigger on any of these cards just yet unless you just really want to secure one in stock. But you definitely do want the full picture of that $500 to $600 price bracket before buying anything right now. Otherwise, I will leave these linked down below. As always, a huge thanks for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.